Hello everyone, it is Tactical here again with Random Redneckery. What's up, Redneck?
Was that?
Yeah, and so I keep getting a couple of hints that I should do some podcasts every day now. But of course, since I'm too lazy to, I'm just gonna give you another one and wait a little bit before I do another one, because that's just too many buttons for me to click. So, I do believe that we are not just talking about heavy equipment this time like we did last time and brought international into it as the last little bit. Right?
Yep.
So, what do we talk about, Redneck? You get to choose
I don't care.
Well, let's see here. We got heavy equipment, trucks, cars. Any topics you like?
I don't care, man.
Let's think for a minute. Of course, I get on here not thinking about what we should start with, but yeah, I guess that's how it works. If I can think for a minute. Yeah, so I'm pretty much just going to cut out this little part while I talk to Redneck about what to actually talk about, but yeah, so hang tight. Yeah, so I pretty much got on here not thinking one thing about how to actually go about this, because I didn't really think, we got something going on, but I'm an idiot, so I just don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Good Lord. How about, I guess we just talk about let's talk about coal mining.
Well, work.
Huh?
That'll work.
Alright. Okay, like human beings, so we finally did find a topic to talk about, and it is going to be the lovely topic of coal mining. Coming from a coal mining town, I believe that this is a pretty good topic to talk about because, let's be honest, I mean, it's kind of going out of style, and there are a lot of politicians that are now against it, which I find unfortunate because coal keeps the lights on. If you don't like coal, I guess you don't like electricity. Both of which are actual sayings in the state of Kentucky. So, yeah.
Play up, play up.
Now, what I've noticed about a lot of mines where I'm from is that they,
Hey, I don't, I hope you guys don't mind me barging in here real quick.
No, it's all good. We're doing a podcast. You want to hop in?
I was just gonna ask Redneck, if he was ready, because we're gonna roll in all together.
Oh, frick. Hold on. I gotta get a trailer, because I can't find any stupid loads for this dang thing.
Okay. You don't need to do a load. You just need to get a trailer. That's all.
Okay, I was... Alright, cool. That'll work.
Alright. Sorry, BG.
Nah, you're all good, bud.
Alright. See you tomorrow, hopefully, I guess.
Yep.
Alright.
So, anyways, yeah, sorry about the little pop-in that was from police boss on the server. But we are going to continue on with this nice little coal mining topic. I believe one of the biggest things that makes coal mining is the fact that you don't really have to have like all these big old fancy pieces of equipment to get it done, you know? You know, with quarry mining, you know, hauling dirt, gravel, stuff like that. You usually think, you know, that you're going to have a 777 plus a couple of 980s and maybe a 994K up in there, you know, doing that crap, and an M14 rolling around. Whereas with coal mining, it's really just more of like a good lord, I forgot the 9 series of cats. But usually with mining, you've got a small piece of equipment that's going to mine. Of course, that's probably going to be pretty close up to date. But yeah. And then you just got a bunch of 18-wheelers that roll in with dump beds. And usually, you know, they're pretty old. They've even got 10-wheel Max running in through there. And usually they are private contract, but yeah. Sometimes they do work for the actual company, but you'll get it over here and there, and you know, yeah. Another thing is that motor graders, they do actually keep the roads nice and smooth, because the semis rolling up through there, like I said before, are sometimes private contract, and that is their own truck and vehicle sometimes. So yeah. But the thing with that is that they really don't, how do I put it, have the world's greatest equipment. They typically have older equipment, older model. Like you might have a 140 rolling through there instead of having a big old 14 or 24 running. Good lord, I can't talk. But yeah, so this is one thing to think about. You know, sometimes they're gonna have if I can look it up really quickly. Wheel loaders, medium. Usually, and when I say that the equipment was all cat, I literally mean all equipment was cat. I believe I found out it's probably the 966. Yeah, the 966M probably. But they'd have just a 966M from, or a similar model, Lord, I don't know anything around that time. But they'd just have them rolling through loading up crap. And they'd stockpile all the coal into a large pile. And when I say a large pile, I mean it was really big. Like, even if they stopped pumping coal out onto the pile, it's going to last for, I'd say, about 2 shifts. The day and night shift of complete loading non-stop. But, which now you have to remember that they do take the time, like 2-3 minutes to load up. Because sometimes these are some pretty big semis that are rolling through. Yeah, but now how they actually got up on the narrow, winding mountain roads that are constantly going up and down, don't ask me that. They're some professionals, but yeah. But yeah, that's just, it's usually not as professional as these quarries make it look, and the safety standards are down a lot. Of course, the safety standards will be picked up as soon as the feds roll in town, but, well, other than that, you really wouldn't get any. I mean, they wouldn't make you wear hard hats. They do tell you to wear steel-toe boots, because they do care about your feet that much. But anyways, I think that one of the most beautiful things about coal mining is the fact that it's one of these big things that brings most of the people who are working together up in these small little Appalachian areas. It's you know, it's where usually most of the men work and used to work, and then, you know, it's just always a great story to bring up of how they maneuvered that one night to not wreck in the ditch, or how they filled an entire 45-foot dump bed with coal in about half a minute. Now, of course, this being said, it's always seen as the really bad thing, because it's, I mean, of course it does have its defects. It's kind of harmful to the environment. I take that back. It is harmful to the environment, because you're blasting into the ground and drilling in throughout there, and you're just leaving all this gravel and You're using a lot of diesel power when you're doing that stuff, and sometimes gasoline. And I'm pretty sure some of these new pieces of equipment use propane and LV gas too. So we'll have to see about that. But it's just, it's one of these beautiful things that comes with its flaws. It's just something that you can't really fix like that. It's just, you take the package the way it is, and you just take it. One of the big things that I do like about coal mining, though, my favorite part was that it was always something for my grandfather and I'd bond over. He always took me up to the mines when I was a little feller, and he'd just take me up on one of his loaders, like a 980 or something, along the lines of that. Lord, I can't remember. It's been so dang long. But we used to go up, and he ran loaders for most of his lifetime. He worked on loaders and heavy equipment all his life. He rarely ever went underground. But that's what most of the men do, is they go underground. My grandfather, because he's not got the world's greatest back, and he's had a little bit of suffering to that black coal dust that's coming up through the years, because most of the time these mining companies, they are all private owned, don't have the equipment to keep the ground kind of moist and not picking up any dust and stuff like that. What you'll commonly see is in the big quarries, usually is that they have a 777 running around with a water tank on the back of it. They've actually got a bunch of new fancy attachments for it, even coming with a water cannon and a programmable water system on the back with the tank, which is a couple thousand gallons, I think. But one of the big things is that he just got a lot of that dust inhalation, and it wasn't really good for him. The point is that he didn't really go underground that much, so he didn't really have anything to talk about the underground. But now, where he worked on the surface, and he had a lot to do with the heavy equipment, I was able to go and mess around in that equipment too. In fact, sometimes I've actually been pretty close to getting underground. One day when I particularly went, which is about the most detailed tour that I ever went on, which I was about 10, 11, 12, I got about 20 feet from the entrance to the mine, which it's pretty big. So when I got like 20 feet away from it, it's a big entrance. I was over on the left side of the mine. Of course, I was out of range of like the opening, so the opening wasn't facing directly towards me. When I walked in the direction of that opening, when I got in the way of the opening, and I remember I'm 20 feet away, I felt air blast me back. Now, for those of you who do know, well, yeah, it's pretty powerful. But now, for those of you who don't, is that they have these fans running 24/7 to keep the oxygen flow in there pretty good. It's because sometimes most of the time the mines don't have enough oxygen circulation down there, so they have the oxygen pumping all the time down there to keep the miners from suffocating. You might find something along the lines of similar, is that they had a canary go down there, and if it didn't come back up alive, then that meant that there was gas. It kind of similarly relates, because they're always trying to find ways to overcome the fact that they can't breathe down there sometimes, and that gas it is a problem to breathe in. But yeah. And so that fan, even though it blew air all the way down into the mine, which meant that it had to come right back around and up and smack me. You can get an idea of what these miners are feeling 24/7. It's just cold, man. I was 20 feet away, like I said, from the entrance, and it was frigid, man. Like, I wouldn't say Arctic cold, but it was a cold son of a gun. But so I just feel really bad for the men who had to go under, and the men who make the best out of it. God bless them, they know how to live. But right back to the heavy equipment. So that was the same visit that I actually got to run a loader on my own. Yeah, so I went up there and I met some of the men up in the mines, good friends of my grandfather's. So I went up and, they were all friendly. A couple of them gave me some of their snacks. I'll tell you what, I sure do like them, man. They were some nice fellers. And usually, actually, those guys were particularly middle-aged or older, so they were about their 40s, 50s, some in their 60s. And they really do work their entire lives to just make an even decent living. And whenever they do, they do start to make the money back. It's that they sometimes invest in the stock market. You'll hear about Bob Frazier. He was a big-time investor, and he made millions. And he still he was the first millionaire out of that area. So he was very lucky with the stock market. So. I'm not sure if he did work in the mines or not, but but there's some nice fellers. And I went up to the foreman's office with my grandfather, and the halls in these little mine huts that they have. I don't know if you would call them mine hut or a mine house. I forgot. But whenever you go into the offices, it's a really tiny hallway. And to be fair, they are in these mobile homes. They make offices out of these mobile homes to have their offices in. So I went into the foreman's office, and we talked for a good little bit about trucks and crap like that, and just talking about the mines in general. I think we talked about 30 minutes, and then he looked at me, son, I want you to have this, and he handed me a pretty nice sized block of coal, and to this day I still have it. It's a nice block of coal, and every time I pick it up, it reminds me of being back at home. And I just sure do love that block of coal. I remember specifically my grandfather said, "Shh, you better put that thing back there in that carpet." And the funny thing is that whenever we'd take a truck anywhere, we'd stick a carpet in the back of it, because we always knew we were going to stick something nasty that was going to run the paint on it. So take it for what you will. To keeping a carpet in the bed of your truck, it keeps things from getting dirty, I'll tell you that much. But yeah, we kept it like that until we got home, where we bagged it up in a Ziploc, which I didn't do, my parents did, and that kind of, I thought that was pretty disrespectful, because I did like that a lot. And it's just, it's the Ziploc bag is no place for something important. But so later, after I got that block of coal, we walked over to a building where there was a bunch of CBs in there, and I forget if it was Channel 5 or 6, but my grandfather got on to one of the radios, or there's a line of them for whatever reason I didn't understand. He called over, loader man, roll on over to the mine hut or something. So the loader rolls over, and he hops out for a minute. My grandfather tells me he can go take his lunch break while he shows his youngin' around. So they talked for a couple of minutes. I remember they let me go up in there and just check out the entire thing. And let me tell you, I sure did love looking at that sucker. It was just a big old sight for me. I sat up in the seat, I looked around and I thought, wow, this thing is just something, ain't it, buddy? I looked around for a couple of minutes, and then I got really anxious to fool that sucker. So I gave my grandfather a little heads up, let's just get this show on the road. So I twisted the loader a little bit, and to my young mind, I thought, like most cars, it's just going to be the front two tires rolling around. To my complete and utter surprise, that entire dang loader jerked. And what I didn't realize at the time was that the frickin' thing was articulated, like every loader in existence. So I thought, what on planet Earth is that thing? So my grandfather hopped on up, because he realized I was getting impatient. But we rolled around for a couple minutes, and he showed me how it ran, how to use it, and then he stuck me on his knee and told me to press that little lever on the ground and steer that wheel, which didn't really look like a wheel. It looked more like a little bit like a U shape, somewhat. But it was a steering wheel. and to move those two levers over on the right. And so for the redneck sense in me, I realized how to move a loader and run it. I ended up loading about, what was it, 2 trucks? Yeah, I loaded 2 trucks. They were Mack 10-wheelers. And I'll tell you, it was pretty cool, man. I mean, that was just something. But yeah, that's the story of how I got to run my first loader on my own. Of course, I've run loaders with my grandfather's help many times, of course, but yeah. After we got out of the loader that day, I went down and checked on we got to go into the garage where they kept all the crap to work on everything, and they had this mine buggy that was sitting out there, and it was electric. What I didn't know it was flat out electric. What I find really cool about the fact that it was electric is that I don't exactly remember how they charged the dang thing, and so it was just, I thought this thing was like an immortal. It just ran and never quit. Of course, I was the 12-year-old who understood combustion and how crap works. But I thought that a mine cart was immortal. My grandfather sat me down on it and told me to run around the workshop a little bit in it, and it was pretty fun. Now, he taught me how to move it forward and backwards. It was fun, man. It is kind of like driving a really big golf cart. And, yeah. That was pretty fun. Of course, I had a bunch of junk all over it, so you really got that mine authentic feeling. Of course, it was covered in dust, so it was really cool. I'll give you that. And it did look a little bit like the chassis was stripped, but then again, I don't know how a minecart looked, so we just go with it from that, yeah. The funny thing is that even though we had left the mine a little bit later, that wasn't the end of the fun. We got down a little bit, just a little bit past the curve to get up there. Of course, all of this is on a mountain road that's been carved out. Good lordy, excuse me. But we got around the corner, because you got to go down a little bit, and then there's a corner where there was a grader sat, and I think it was a 140. I want to think a 140, 120. Anyways, we pulled up right next to it, and he took me out and stuck me up in the grader, and then climbed up behind me. Here's the one thing that I learned about Kentucky. It's that no matter what, people are too stupid to realize that when we say we leave our keys in our truck, we mean we leave our keys in our truck. We got up into a Lord promised $100,000 grader, and the first thing I noticed is that the key is in the ignition. Of course, for the weirdest reason ever, all the ignitions are right down in the seat, like to the right. It's like a little bit down if you stick your hand in the crevice between your right hand and between your right side of the seat and the control area. That's where the ignition was, and I think it was kind of like a anti-theft thing, so that because not very many people in Kentucky understood where else the ignition could be other than the right steering column. And I'll tell you for what you will, but I mean it works. Yeah, we got up in it, and it was old. I mean, like, old as in we weren't using the joysticks. We were using the levers with the ball tips on the end of them. He taught me how to use that sucker, and we fooled around with it for a minute. And he said, watch this. Here's where I got deadly scared. He said, watch this, and you'll notice the front two hydraulics connecting to the blade start lifting. So I'm like, whoa, this is pretty cool. We get a little bit higher, and I'm thinking, wow, this is pretty high up. Remember, this is a 140 or a 120, so it isn't really high up. But when you're in a big piece of equipment, it looks high. But we went up. This is getting pretty high. A little higher. Oh my lord, we are really high up. A little higher. Why does the truck look like an ant? I kid you not. We were literally over that truck. The cab was. I don't even know how. He must have bent the hydraulics or something. So we were hanging over the truck, and I was pretty much holding on to the cab so I wouldn't slip out. And try to break my back on the metal cab of the 92 Ranger, which already had sentimental value because that was the first vehicle that I ever rode in. Not drove, for once, rode. But yeah, so I got a little jump scare out of that. I say jump scare as in I wasn't really scared until I realized that I was hanging on for my back, my spinal cord, and I wouldn't say dear life. Something like that, yeah. Let me tell you, I got home and I told my grandmother what had happened, and she looked at my grandfather and she said, "Get in here now." Long story short, he came out laughing and she came out as pale as a ghost. But yeah, so for those of you who are actually wondering what had happened on that day where me and Redneck were talking about me running a loader again, yeah, that's pretty much what happened. Yeah, probably none of you noticed from the first podcast, but too bad. I mean, you get a full in-depth thing of what's going on. Yeah. I will say, though, for not having much money for these private companies, when I got down further down, I did see a very large clearing where there were a couple of tractor scrapers and some articulated trucks. Now, if you've been around long enough, you'd know that I have a particular hatred for the older Caterpillar articulated dumps. And some of you might have known that I find them very stupid looking and with really bad taste. Call them really ugly. Now you will notice that I do particularly enjoy the newer ones with the flat face instead of the nose-looking face. Yeah, so the funny thing is that about these articulated trucks, which for some Lord forbid known reason, there were about 7 or 8 of them, and there were a couple of D6s and 8s through there. And like I said, the tractor scrapers, I didn't see any big equipment, but I'm sure I saw 1 777 throughout that lineup. But I think they were just scraping everything off for the roads because they knew that the trucks were having some issues over here and there. But anyways, I digress. For some reason, it was a mix between the two faces. When I talk about faces, I mean the grills, as in, well, yeah, I'm not stupid, so. But anyways, it was a mix between the two, and I didn't really understand it because, I thought, well, that's a weird looking face. Of course, I didn't realize until later what the two of the faces looked like, and, but yeah, it looked a little weird. That was that was one of my favorite days in existence. But yeah, so thank y'all for watching. If you did watch again this long, or listen, I don't care how you listen to it. It's a podcast, dang it, for all I care. You just listen because it's not like I got anything up on the desktop. Yeah, don't forget to think about liking and subscribing. I appreciate y'all hanging around on here. I just like telling stories and talking about crap. Of course, I try to keep everything as friendly and unbiased as possible, as I don't really want to offend anyone. Because that would just suck, and it'd take away from your viewing pleasure, and I find that pretty sucky and distasteful. But yeah, so leave me a comment if you want to. I'm probably gonna read it because I don't have any views hardly. But yeah, like I said again, thank y'all for watching if you did make it this far, and if you didn't make this far, which I would understand because you're not gonna hear this, well, glorpoldy gloop. So yeah, thank y'all for watching. Have a nice day.